But the other thing that I heard Tom Hanks say was so awesome was wait. Why am I talking? And I thought, I love that because sometimes when you're talking and then all of a sudden you realize I know nothing about that person. And it goes with why am I texting as well for the things that we just talked about. I'm sure someone else said it, but Tom Hanks said it and it just resonated. When he said it, I went, good point, be a better listener. Got it. And I think that's really key.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. I am your host, May Bugenhagen. I am the founder of Two Asian Matchmakers. It is a boutique matchmaking company serving men of all ethnicities all across the US who want to meet Asian women. And today's guest is Julie. She is not Asian, but she has a lot of information on dating. So you can tune in and learn something from her. I will read you the bio about Julie. Julie Lorentz, the unstoppable woman behind Blue Skies with Julie LLC. As the CEO, Julie's mission is to empower individuals to achieve their goals through education, authenticity, accountability, humor, and joy. She is all about results and focuses on helping single moms take practical, actionable steps toward achieving their goals while becoming their most attractive selves and erasing their debt. Welcome to the show, Julie. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me, May.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about dating, a little bit about women, single moms, and erasing their debt. But first of all, tell us briefly how you got into this business and how you got started and what made you motivated to help other women.
14 years ago, I was a single mom. It was, I suppose, not a surprise, but it was because you want to put your blinders on. And I personally had gone through a thing called Dave Ramsey's Peace University. And so when this hit, I was at work. I won a contest with some people. And I knew that divorce was imminent. And I took my prize money, which I still remember, it was $169. And I grabbed an empty tennis can and I put that money in to save an emergency fund because I knew I didn't know what was coming. That's how I got started.
So you were trying to save money and kind of keep it away from your husband at that time?
That sounds so bad, but yes, I hid it. I hid it in the back of the closet. I didn't want anyone to see it. I wanted to, whatever was going to come. And mainly for me, I have two boys now in their 20s, successful young men. And I wanted to be able to get whatever it was we needed or pay for whatever it was. And so I wanted to start and save up to about $1,000 is what my goal was. So.
And did you meet that goal eventually?
I absolutely did. And so I ended up with a little bit of a surprise because of all the premise of being debt free. I hadn't had credit cards. We hadn't had credit cards, but through divorce, people make different choices. That's what had happened. He had chosen a different journey. And in his new journey, he picked up a credit card that I had no idea of. But based on where I was in Washington law, I got to have half the debt. And so, surprise, me being this, financially free, love it, pay cash and have your envelopes and teach my kids about envelopes to save your money and give to money and all of this. I had to take on credit card debt, like I said. And so then immediately it took me about, and I try and remember, but it has been 14 years. It took me about 18 months or so immediately just to take that and pay it off. It was a big deal. And to be, debt free, have no personal debt is really important to me.
So your work is now trying to help single moms become debt free. What are some tips that you can give single moms out there to become debt free? What are some things right off the top of your head?
Right off the top of my head, the first thing I don't think our society as a whole thinks about is security. So I call it four keys. I know Dave Ramsey has a different term for it. Four walls, I believe, is what they call it. You need your transportation, you need food, you need clothing, and you need your housing, including utilities. And sometimes when you become a single mom, you're thinking you still need to pay all your bills, all of it, and do that first, rather than making sure you have a house and you have food and you have whatnot. So the first thing I always like to tell people is pause and make sure that you have enough money, because that becomes a whole other issue. If for some reason you're not going to have housing, you can imagine. I mean, that goes down a different line. So that's the first and foremost, is those 4 keys.
Okay. So how do single moms make sure they don't get in debt? Like, would you suggest that they don't have credit cards or just don't spend above their means? Like, what percentage should they save? What percentage should they use as fund money? Do you have like different guidelines like that for them?
As you can imagine, everybody's level is so different depending on the support they get, the jobs they have, the experience they have, if they're able to have a side hustle, all of that. So I don't have a formula or an exact amount, but the first thing they do is save for an emergency. And really, credit cards, there's so few people that use credit cards in the proper manner. And if you're a single mom and you only have so much money, and you feel sad and you want to go buy that shiny thing for yourself, that's just not going to help. And so that is one of the first things is, I get that maybe cutting them up is too scary, because what if something comes up? But certainly not using them and figuring out different ways I visited things, actually, May. I visited things. I read it in Cheapskate's monthly book, that you see something that you like, don't buy it, because you might not want it. And sure enough, I went and visited a few different things that I liked, because I followed that, and I actually didn't want them as much anymore. And so it was kind of fun to go visit my things and then not have spent the money. So that's a tip, one of the things that I encourage. But yes, I like that you mentioned that the credit card thing, and just not spending beyond your means. That's definitely a start to what the whole premise is to being debt free, and only spending what you have, and starting off just with the 4 keys and making sure you're secure. That's the biggest thing at first, and then moving on and getting rid of your debt and philosophies of that.
So let's talk about the 4 keys. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So I have ended up calling it the 4 keys to security. And I end up saying it in different order sometimes, but really you have to be able to get to work, right? And that doesn't mean that you need a fancy car. Maybe you were in a situation where you had a higher end car, or 2 cars. Really quick story. Mine was I feel embarrassed to say this, because it's not chic or hip, but I had the best van. It was a caravan, and it had great music, and it had lots of room for the kids and the friends or whatever. And it was really nice, and I loved it. But when I found out I was going to end up in a divorce, it was expensive. And they were more popular than I swear. But I went into the dealership. I woke up and I had an intuition. For me, it felt like God, but I had an intuition. I went to the dealership and I was able to trade down. So that is absolutely something women, want to think about is, how much car do you have? It's a little harder now because used cars are pretty expensive. So, you really want to think about that. But if you by chance can sell your car or sell your expensive blender for somebody else that really wants a fancy blender, and you're okay if you don't have that, that's definitely one of the first things you want to do. So, and then clothing, you don't need necessary clothing for yourself probably, but your children are growing. If you don't think they're growing, that might be another issue, but literally they're probably going to need pants and shirts and everything. So clothing really for them, and then housing and utilities, clearly, that kind of thing, and food and going to basics, not going out to eat. When you go out to eat, you get a brown paper bag and you put some stuff and you go to the park. Going out to eat is so fun and it's so nice, but it's not part of a budget of getting yourself so that you can go and have money. Having money and not having bills is so awesome when you're a single mom.
Yeah. I mean, eating out costs maybe 4 times as much as you would spend at home. Like you could create this fabulous meal for $10, but you go out to eat, it's like $40 just for the 2 of you. So it can really add up. So yeah. Now,
Absolutely.
when you were a single mom, how did you balance all that with dating? Like, how did you make room or make time for dating when you were a single mom?
That's such a good question. I thought I was a shadow of a person when I first got divorced. And so that wasn't even a thought at first for me. And I highly recommend. Mine was inadvertent. I didn't date. I wrote it down because, again, talking to you, knowing I was going to talk to you, I actually put some letters to things. So I call it C. Just stop for a hot minute and breathe, right? After, if you're in a divorce, and be with yourself, and then re-engage with girlfriends. I had kind of lost track of that because I had so focused only on him. And there are positives to that, of course, and I'm sure you probably encourage your clients. There's things about that, but just focusing on that and losing track of your friends and family, re-engage with that. And then for me, enriching myself was the next one. So you can see the SEE and then E, enriching yourself. And for me, that was, I actually took golf lessons. I went to Bible study, which was so cool because there's the book that the pastor was talking about was Ephesians, and back in the day they had statues with three breasts. Who knew? You never know what you're going to be learning. And I met some great women, right? And then I took flying lessons. I took a couple of flying lessons. And so these are the things like, what have you wanted to do? Who are you? My aunt flew a plane. I want to fly a plane, right? Whoever you are, those are the kind of things. And then finally educate. And I don't mean go out and get an education. I mean, do you like raspberries? Oh, I do like raspberries, right? The runaway bride, when she's talking about what eggs she liked and it depended on who she was dating. I realized, luckily, I needed to figure out what I liked, what movies I liked, what music I liked. And I know that that's one of your philosophies as well. So it's truly, that's a big deal.
So, are you saying that after the divorce, you took some time out to rediscover yourself, to
Yes.
re-engage your interests? But flying is not a cheap hobby. Like, how did you balance that with your budget that you were probably trying to manage and keep it under control? How can you afford flying lessons as a single mom?
Right. For me, I was more fortunate than some women because I did have, I can't even think what it's called now, where your ex pays you. Um,
Alimony?
Alimony. Yes, thank you. So I had some, thank you. I had some alimony and child support, and I'm frugal and know how to save. And so I paid cash, you know what I mean? So it was something for me, and I wanted to do that. So I would save up. So I wasn't in that place where I was not going, I didn't have to go out to eat, but we did have, when we went on our first vacation, we had envelopes, and we had an envelope for the hotel, and we had an envelope if we wanted to eat out or activities or whatever. So I literally, I wanted to teach my kids, and I would say, okay, here's where we're at. And I would ask them, what do you want to do? Here's what we want to do. And for me, that was my thing. I want to learn how to fly. I took 2 lessons. I didn't ever finish. It wasn't the whole thing, but that's the point. What do you want? And re-engage with yourself. Can you prioritize that? Can you afford that? Not everybody is in a financial struggle. I just know you want to be cash only, and that's why that's a big deal for me to help women. And then if you're debt free, you're more attractive, right? Because you don't seem so desperate. So that it just goes hand in hand with being dateable to me.
Yeah, I wonder. I work with men. Obviously, the men are the paying clients, and the women join my database for free. And I'm always on the lookout for great women. But I wonder how many of them, single moms or non single moms, how many of them have a lot of debt? Like, what's the average amount of debt someone is carrying right outside of college or in their late 20s or early 30s? Do you know?
I don't know the exact stats, but I know generally across America, people have anywhere from 15 to about $100,000 in between credit card debt and, sadly, student loan debt, because people don't realize that that's actual debt, and that you're, I mean, student loans, like, yay, go get a college degree and don't pay for it online. So yes, women probably have debt, and it's just so, it doesn't make you attractive. It makes you scared. It makes you scared. And so, that's, I mean, it's just such a big whole package. If you want to be able to work with May and she wants to be able to find someone with you, I mean, literally thinking of you, the women that would be more attractive would be the ones that have paid attention to themselves, taken a breath, and gotten out of debt so that they don't look so desperate, like they're looking for a man to take care of them, which is lovely in many ways, but not when you're only because you're desperate.
Right.
To me.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, I'll look up that stat later to see how many people are in debt and what their average debt is coming out of school. But getting back to the dating scene, how did you know you were dateable? Like, when was the aha moment for you that, you know what, I'm done trying to learn about myself and getting back out there, learning different activities and hanging out with old girlfriends? Like, when did you feel like, you know what, I'm ready to date again?
It was a surprise. It was, I'm dateable. And I literally danced all weekend when I had that epiphany. It was so funny. And it was about 2 years in. But I had found a book, and I know you're going to giggle, but Sex in the City, who knew that would be a good dating book? Because it doesn't seem like it, but the authors that were co-writers on that show, Sex in the City, wrote a book, and maybe people have heard of the movie, He's Just Not That Into You. And the book is based on the premise, but it's different, and it's amazing. And I don't remember which chapter. I'm so sorry. I've moved a couple times and I couldn't find my book, but in that chapter, and FYI warning, there's language, the F word and whatever. If you can get past it, and I wholeheartedly hope you can, because the information is so amazing. In that book, they are talking about, and I even wrote down one quote from what this gentleman, so it's Greg and Liz, and I wouldn't try and pronounce their names, but it's the writers of who He's Just Not That Into You. But he's told these women before he had written the book, Greg reminded us that we are all beautiful, smart, funny women, and we shouldn't waste the pretty. And the reason that is you don't want to reach out. Okay, I'll back up and I'll just tell you. When I dated what is now my now husband, and I'm jumping, I realize, but my now husband, I ended up meeting him on Match.com, and that was fun. I think everyone should go to May, but anyway, woo. When he first met me, one of the things that Greg and Liz talk about is not engaging first. That for them, they're like, just let the men engage. And so my now husband, then when we were first dating, said, I noticed you're not ever texting me or calling me first. And I answered him and said, and I will never be. But also notice that when you text me, I immediately text back, and I will immediately call you back. It's not a game. It's just how I want to be and how it is. And that's one of the things that Greg and Liz had talked about is it's if men say, oh, I'm busy, I broke my phone finger, or I couldn't get a hold of you, or I'm going to be out of town for a week. I'm sorry, in the world today, they can call you. And so you don't want the games. And that's what I went, oh, okay, I'm worthy. And if someone's going to want to date me, I'm going to know it. And that was big. That was a big deal.
So your big aha moment was, okay, if a gentleman was pursuing me, I'll just respond right back. That means he is into me, and he did pay attention to me, and he wants to talk to me. So it's not game playing that you let him reach out to you, but every time he reaches out to you, you reply back right away, or you call him, or you text him.
100%. It's not a game. And I don't think it should be a game personally. I mean, that's my philosophy. And the way that I found out that someone was going to ask me was someone that I worked with told me, I think you're going to get asked out in the next week. And that's when I had that, I'm dateable, and I had been reading the book or whatever, but I still didn't think I was dateable. And so, yeah, it's a process, but I really, yes, wait and don't play games. For sure.
Okay. But it's okay to let the guy pursue you.
Personally, I like that. And I know there's new research that's showing that women were hunters. I just heard that. And so, but in everything that we normally hear, men are hunters and they want to hunt. And I know that sounds kind of crude or whatever, but I've heard people say that a man who decides he wants to date a woman, if he knows that Debbie Williams was this woman he met, and he knows that she lives in such and such city, he will call 15 different Debbie Williams in that thing to find that girl that he's interested in. And I don't know much about how men and women are wired, but it has worked for me and 2 other girlfriends just for me that I said, I would recommend you get that book. And they followed that and they were very sincere. And seriously, that was what really good for them as well, because it just helps you be a real authentic person, which again, I don't mean to talk about your book, but you talk about that in this new book that you wrote. And it's the same. I just really believe in it strongly, being authentic and being available and not playing games. And yeah, so yes, I believe wholeheartely in that.
I like that. I like that. I like how we let men be men, their masculine energy, and we let women be women to exude feminine energy, not talking about playing games, but just kind of let it be and then kind of follow his lead, but not play hard to get. Like, I don't believe in playing hard to get. I believe in communication. So if you're not playing hard to get, you're communicating and you're letting the other person know what you want, what you like, and what you dislike. So yeah. Okay. Now, did that guy ever ask you out then when
He
someone
did.
said,
He
okay.
did. Yeah. It was a great first re-entry into life. You know what I mean? It wasn't the forever, and that's okay. But it was like, oh, I'm dateable, and someone actually asked me out, and then, re-enter the world and know that yes, the things that you've been telling yourself, the positive things you've been telling yourselves are true. It's so great.
See, that's the thing. Like, if a guy who works up all this courage to ask a woman out, and if the woman would just say yes, if he's maybe something that she wants in him, maybe he meets 80% of her criteria, then she should say yes. But if she says no, she should also let him down gently and kindly, right? Like, there's some women out there that probably gets hit on all the time. And when they reject men, they do it in a way that's so mean that it kind of makes the men not want to ask women out anymore, right? Like, we want men to pursue women, but women should also be okay saying no to a date in a nice, kind way. Like, gosh, I'm so flattered you asked me out, but I'm going to politely decline the invitation, as opposed to maybe like, ugh, rolling their eyes or something, like whatever that may be. I mean, it takes a lot of courage for men to ask women out. So anyway, so regarding dating and single mom and debt and all that, what other things should I have asked that I didn't ask?
I just want to touch on what you just said. Those women that are being stinky and they're rolling their eyes or whatever, their dream man might be right next to, or might be the friend of the guy that they just shut down in such a mean way. Just represent yourself kind. You never know what people are going through or what their day is. Even if you don't want to go out with them, all you have to say is thank you, no thank you. I mean, it doesn't even have to be long. It's like, or just no thank you. But to be snotty, I'm just so sad for the women, because that their heart, you need to maybe rethink that first of all. But what if your dream man is next to the guy that is asking you and you're a stinker? So there's that. I just want to say that. And that maybe will help a few more people be kind in the world too. But the other thing that I heard Tom Hanks say was so awesome was wait. Why am I talking? And I thought, I love that, because sometimes when you're talking and whatever, and then all of a sudden you realize, I know nothing about that person. And it goes with why am I texting as well, for the things that we just talked about. If you just pause and wait to be texted and then you text. So I love it. Why am I talking though? Is such a good, I'm sure someone else said it, but Tom Hanks said it and it just resonated. When he said it, I went, good point. Be a better listener. Got it. And I think that's really key. And asking questions. What is your favorite thing to eat? What is your favorite movie? Not just letting them and talking about yourself. That was something, you just get nervous, sometimes in your church. So why am I talking?
When you went out with your husband, what did you think about the first date, and what made you give him another chance for a second date? Like, what was it about him that made you go, okay, I might want to get to know him better?
It was actually prior to our first date. It was phone call. And for me, again, my spiritual side or whatever, I had really been praying, okay, what's right for me? And his voice, his tone, everything about how it was, it just resonated and it felt so right. Our first date was a hot mess. It was horrible. My mom had just had surgery. My brother said, no, you should go. And I had been up waiting for her. Is she going to make it or not make it? And then we went on this date, and it was like, he never thought he'd hear from me again. It had really so little to do with him. It was just not a good time to go on a date. So when he did hear from me, which I knew I would have to reach out in this case, I broke my own rule. I had to reach out. He said he didn't even like, wait, what's happening? And then it just went from there, and it was really solid. And my dogs liked him. I have to say that was really important. My dogs liked him.
Wait, what happened on the first date that made him think, you know what, I don't think I want to contact this woman again?
Oh, he didn't think he'd ever hear from me again. He didn't think I'd ever want to go out with him again. Remember, I was a very hurt woman. And so I put up quite a good wall, and I showed off the nice side or whatever, but I didn't want to get hurt. And I don't even know what that looks like, but I'm certain I was not the sweet person that I like, and the caring, and the, whatever. And so just putting that wall up, and, thank you. And who knows what a snot I was. I just know it wasn't perfect. And he never, the look he gave me, like, okay, I'm never going to see her again. I don't even know how to say it. He just never thought he'd hear from me, or that he would bother talking to me, because I seemed so distant. And literally I had come from a really long day, and then don't go on the date. You know what I mean? Like, in hindsight. So he was happy to hear from me.
You knew that you weren't at your best on this date, and you knew that he was worth getting in touch with to do a retake on the date. So you contacted him to see if he was still interested, and he was surprised that you contacted him, but he was also okay either way, meeting you again.
Oh no, he was ecstatic. I don't mean to sound like that, but he really he was so bummed that it didn't go well, because we had I think it was about 2 weeks worth of conversations, and we just meshed, over the phone. So then it was like, what happened? Yeah. And it wasn't us, it was me. Do you know what I mean? And so luckily when I texted, hey, what are you doing? It was like, nothing. Do you know what I mean? And then we just, reconnected, and now we're married. 12 years married, and 12 and a half years together. So nice. Yeah, if you connect, on the phone and whatnot, that in-person thing, be sure where they're coming from, who knows, maybe they had family in the hospital, and you know what I mean? You just don't know. Right. Why would people go on a date in that circumstance? But my big brother said, no, you should go. And I listened to him.
Right. So you guys chatted for 2 weeks before you actually met in person.
We did.
Did you think that was a long time to chat, or not really?
I have no idea. When you get back into the game, it was just so nice that, and again, it was match. And so he winked at me. Mm-hmm. And again, I didn't ever wink at anybody, so he had to wink at me. And I knew he liked me. I knew he had picked me. And that helped. But yeah, our conversations were lovely. And he had come from divorce too, and was hurt, and personal. I feel like I'm sharing TMI, and it's not like details or whatever, but he said, I feel like I'm finally seeing color again after he started talking to me. And that's beautiful. Yeah. Right. I mean, and mine is blue skies. Yeah. My whole company is Blue Skies with Julie, because I was always looking for just a little patch of blue sky while I was going through divorce, and that's what I felt with him too. So
when you said you were on Match.com and he winked at you, so he was pursuing you, and I like the fact that you said, okay, so he's interested in me. And I feel like that's the advantage of online dating, is you kind of know, ladies, who's interested in you based on the guys that are winking at you, messaging you, swiping right on you, all that stuff. So those are the guys that are attracted to you. And those are the guys that you should be giving them a chance, because they already put the ball in your court by saying, okay, I'm interested. Let's see if you're going to wink back at me or communicate with me. So that's a great thing about online dating is you already know who's interested in you, right? And if no one is interested in you or no one's contacting you, that's when you need to look at yourself and be like, okay, what can I change on my profile bio or my photos to attract the guys that you're interested in? So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
May, I'm so glad you said that, because I had forgotten when I first went on Match, and I think I was on 3 weeks or something. I was maybe 4. I mean, I literally was not on long, and I was going to get off because I did not enjoy the process. Well, part of the reason I didn't enjoy the process was my girlfriend came and she goes, Julie, I know you think you're outdoor girl, but I know how to bait a hook. I grew up and we would go to northern Wisconsin and I could put a worm on a hook, and I'd go boating and water skiing and things like that. Well, that's when you move to Idaho, that's not outdoor girl. Do you know? I mean, these people are hunting elk and whatever. So when you use, and I don't even remember what I used, but I was getting a lot of flannel shirts, and you know what I mean? It just was like, what is happening? And when she looked at it, she goes, let's rewrite it. Do you know? And we rewrote it. And that's the thing. You want to have a May help you with that kind of thing, you know, because literally you're representing yourself possibly very wrong. And when I flipped it, my husband came along.
Yeah.
You know, then I was baiting my own hook and have an outfit, have a cute outfit and nails to match, or, you know, who knows what I had. It's a combination of things. And then you get to represent yourself more properly. So yes.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. You have to tweak your profile to see who you're attracting. And if you don't like who you're attracting, then you have to tweak your profile and change some stuff until you do like the people that are contacting you. I love it. I love it. So tell me, in closing, Julie, thank you for your time. Tell me how people can contact you and how they can work with you and what your company is about.
So I am launching into everything. I've been doing this for over a decade, talking to in-debt single moms, but I'm just launching online. So my company, Blue Skies with Julie, that is me, blueskieswithjulie.com. If anybody goes right now, they're going to see coming soon. I am on Instagram, and that's fun, and I've been enjoying it. I am now part of ClickFunnels, if you don't know about ClickFunnels. So I am working with in-debt single moms to become attractive while they erase their debt. And I just realized that I can help them also, you know, build a funnel and maybe get some side hustle, and it might not be making sense. So I'll go back to, if you found that interesting, and go to blueskieswithjulie.com, that is where you would find me, or Blue Skies with Julie on Instagram are really the two main places, and more to come.
I love it. I love it. So there you have it, audience. You now know who Julie is, and hopefully you will get in touch with her if you need her help. All of her information will be in the show notes. And thank you so much, Julie, for joining me today and for telling me a little bit about your dating life and how you went from being a single mom, not dating, to now successfully, happily married for 12 years now. Is that what you said?
Yes,
for 12
ma'am.
years. So yeah. And ladies, if you're out there and you want to be part of my database, please go to 2asianmatchmakers.com. Join my database so I know where to find you in case I have a great guy who wants to meet you. So there you have it, everybody. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.